What's up, everybody? Welcome into a, brand new show, if you will. I'm calling it, very simply, the College Football Preview Show. Welcome in. I'm John Harris, football analyst, sideline reporter for footballtakeover.com. And, I'm sideline reporter for the Houston Texans. See, I always say that, and I get used to saying it, so I'm just going to start the show that way. But appreciate you being in. I've been thinking about what I could do for college football. I thought, you know what, let's just do a preview show. Let's just talk ball and talk college football. So let's do it. We got a big weekend of games. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do our keys to the game and the biggest game of the weekend. Then we're going to look at the big three matchups of the weekend that aren't the keys to the game, the big game, but we'll get those three. We're going to look at the big three Heisman race. We're going to look at the big three invites this week to the Shrine Bowl and to the Senior Bowl. And finally, we're going to look at the big three draft matchups that you need to get your eyes on. Seemingly direct matchups of draft prospects that'll make this weekend really, really fun to watch, especially if you, like the draft like I do. And I know you do as well. So let's dive right in with our big matchup of the weekend. And we go out to Corvallis, Oregon for Washington at Oregon State. What a matchup this is. You got Oregon State at 8-2, having lost to Arizona, which is kind of a wild one. They lost to Washington State, but they play some really good football. And then you got Washington, who's undefeated at 10-0. So Washington's got Oregon State ranked 12th in the country, and then they've got Washington State. So they've got the Pac-2 left. Washington runs that. They'll get to the Pac-12 championship game. There are 5 different teams that can get into the Pac-12 championship game. But this game, to me, is a lot about the quarterbacks. You got the lefty on one side, Michael Penix Jr. You got the righty on the other side, DJ Uiagalelei, getting redemption this year. So let's dive into our keys on both sides of the ball. Let's start about the Washington offense, Oregon State defense. And on that side of the ball, you're talking about Dylan Johnson, the running back for Washington, 6 foot, 218 pounds. And he absolutely shredded USC. He was at Mississippi State, he transferred to Washington. He has made a complete difference in that Washington offense. So for all the different things that Oregon State has to do in this game, stop Rome Odunze, stop Jalen Polk, get heat on Michael Penix, they better slow down Dylan Johnson. And that is not going to be easy. But one of the guys that will help is Keaton Oladapo, part linebacker, part safety, but all-time player. Number 28, you got to keep your eyes on him. Last week, he had 2 picks against Stanford. I think this week could be one of those where he has like a 15, 16 tackle game, mainly on Dylan Johnson. But the straw's starting to drink for Washington is obviously Michael Penix Jr. But right there next to him, holding the mug, is Rome Odunze. Wide receiver 2 right now in my Harris 100 wide receiver rankings. He's right behind Marvin Harrison Jr. This wide receiver class is outstanding. Rome Odunze is that guy, 6'2", 210, 212, somewhere in that range, kind of the size of DeAndre Hopkins, but faster than Hop was coming out of college. Great ball skills like Hop. I mean, that's really a great comparison for Rome Odunze. He is going to turn up the heat. Now, Oregon State has seen a couple of good receivers already this year. They faced Josh Kelly from Washington State. He went for 8 and 159 and 3 touchdowns. Yikes. They also faced Arizona's true sophomore wide receiver, Terratoa McMillan, who had 8 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. So when Oregon State has faced a big-time receiver, that receiver has gone off. Oregon State cannot allow that. Now let's flip it over. How can Oregon State offense help help the Oregon State defense? Well, it starts at the top with DJ Uiagalelei. Redemption is thy name. DJ Uiagalelei went to Oregon State from Clemson. He has been really what we expected him to be. Controlled, great arm, big, can add to the run game. He's got 26 total touchdowns this year. He's only got 4 interceptions. DJ Uiagalelei can be that guy. And you talk about creating plays and doing things off platform, he can do that as well. Against Stanford last weekend, he was rolling right and looking right the entire time. And for some reason, he got almost all the way over the other sideline and launched about 50 yards back the other way to a wide receiver wide open. Touchdown Beavers. And I'm not sure an Oregon State quarterback from previous years would have done that, but Uiagalelei is doing that. And I don't know that he would have done that at Clemson. But his play has really stepped up. He will keep Oregon State in the game. Also, because he's got a running game. Damian Martinez and Sean Fenwick, 1-2 punch on Martinez last week, 4 touchdowns. And Fenwick has got tremendous skills as a wide receiver out of the backfield, but he also gets those touches in the run game as well. Those two will keep the Washington defense on their heels. So you add in Uyunglele, then you add in those two, and the Washington linebackers are really going to have a tough game. But they have a difference maker on each side of the ball, left and right, as it pertains to the throwing game. So if the Washington front can slow down that running game, slow down Uyunglele, and force them in passing situations, ZTF, Zion, Tuapolo, Foyte, and Braylon Trice. Now, I know I've butchered ZTF's name because all I do is say ZTF. ZTF, about 3 years ago, was on track to be a first-round pick. Then he got hurt. He's kind of been coming back from that. Just when you think he's turned a corner, he lost his pops a few days before the USC game. Played an emotional game against USC. Had a couple of sacks in that one. But you could start to see the game starting to round into shape. Braylon Trice has been that guy. He's put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Those two are going to put a lot of pressure on Uyunglele, but they got to bring him down. Big Cinco isn't nicknamed Big Cinco for no reason. So Washington, Oregon State, both sides of the ball, going to be a huge matchup. All the politics that go into it, you got to put those aside. These are two really good football teams. And that is the big matchup of the weekend. If you want to know who's going to win that game, go check out my keys to the game at footballtakeover.com. All right, let's move on to our other three big matchups of the weekend. And we're going to go down to Miami for this one. It's not a tremendous weekend for matchups, but I do find this one intriguing. Louisville, top 10 Louisville taking on Miami. Miami is a kind of a mess with a quarterback situation that's not good. Lost their quarterback last week, Emory Williams. Went back to their guy, Tyler Van Dyke. He threw a pick on the final drive. His confidence is absolutely shredded right now. And Louisville is coming to town. This feels like a pretty big upset spot. Miami's actually favored by 1. But Louisville with Jawar Jordan, we'll talk about him a little bit later, I think is going to go down and get that win. I think Louisville's a really solid football team. They don't do anything exceptional, but Jordan is dynamic. Jamari Thrash is kind of Stephon Diggs-like. So you've got a lot of weapons to go at Miami, and Miami's quarterback situation, wow. That's going to be a great football game down in Miami. Second one, you heard me mention Arizona a little while ago. Utah's going to Arizona. Utah, took one on the chin last week against Washington. Tough ball game, hung in there, lost by a touchdown. Arizona has just steadily gotten better and better and better. Jed Fish is one of the coaches of the year. He's been fantastic. His quarterback, when he put Noah Fafita in at quarterback, former Servite, California high school quarterback, with his teammate, Teratoa McMillan, those two are at Servite. And I watch a lot of California high school football because my wife and daughter are out there. And so I paid attention to those things. And Servite a few years ago was outstanding. They had a defensive lineman named Graham, who is now at Michigan, who was tremendous. And then they had Fafita thrown to McMillan. They were really, really good. And so I wondered where they went. Well, Fafita and McMillan with Arizona, they're now linking up again. And Arizona has now become a pretty tough place to stop anybody. I mean, is a tough spot for anybody to go to. They got Jacob Cowing at receiver, Michael Wiley at running back. They got a lot of talent, and they've got a first-rounder left tackle in Jordan Morgan. So they can put up points on everybody. But the defense is starting to round into shape. I think Utah's going to have a tough time. But they got Bryson Barnes, and that's a great spot to start. The Pig Farmer has been pretty good at quarterback this year, so I expect that battle down in Tucson, Utah taking on Arizona. And then finally, Georgia at Tennessee. This one's interesting because Tennessee is really kind of the last hope. Now, Georgia Tech has played better, but Georgia Tech hasn't beaten Georgia. So this is the last hope for a team to knock off Georgia from being 12-0. And if you remember at the beginning of the year, I predicted one team would do it. Well, at least I hoped one team would do it. The schedule was not tough for Georgia. Mizzou got close. But, Florida didn't. And a few others got close, but couldn't get it done. I don't know if Tennessee can get it done. I don't know what's left of Tennessee's pride right now because Tennessee got absolutely shredded last week by Cody Schrader, running back 321 yards, and didn't even go back in the game to set an all-time Missouri record. 36-7, Tennessee got way late. Now, those are the teams you worry about because Tennessee's talented, but they're also scarred. So can they rise up one time and take out Georgia? That's going to be tough. The way Carson Beck is throwing the ball, now Brock Bowers is back. Ladd McConkey has proven he's a top 75 player at worst, which I said before the season. He might even be top 50 at this point. He has been incredible with his speed. Georgia-Tennessee is your final big three matchup of the weekend. Okay, let's dive into the Heisman because that's coming closer and closer and closer. And it's interesting as I thought about this and I put down my three candidates, I felt like, man, I really feel like I have three. maybe 4 that I feel really good about. The 4th is Penix. He's not in this. I'm just doing 3. You get the theme here. 3 matchups, 3 Heisman. Number 1, Jayden Daniels. I had to make sure I look because I did put Daniels down from LSU. But I was debating with 1 and 2, and I'll give you the reason why I went with Daniels right now. I mean, 606 yards last year. He did something no other quarterback's done at Florida on the road. 606 total yards offense. I mean, this is incredible. He went over 350 passing. He went over 250 rushing. I mean, ridiculous numbers. Ridiculous numbers. But he's been doing it all year. He lit up Mississippi State. He lit up Ole Miss. His defense died on him. And he would be having a 2019 LSU Tiger season if the defense had a pulse, but it hasn't. But Jayden Daniels is number 1. Number 2 is Big Marv at Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr. He's been fantastic. 3 touchdowns last week against Michigan State. I thought Larry Fitzgerald, if he didn't win it in 2003, no receiver was going to win it. Maybe Marvin does because of name recognition, but he's at least in the mix. I'm putting him at number 2. Number 3 is Big Penix Energy, Michael Penix Jr. from out of Washington. He's had a couple of games where you go, yeah, okay, but maybe not quite at the level of Jayden Daniels, but he definitely deserves to be in New York, and I think he's number 3 right now. My dark horse is a guy I just mentioned a little while ago, Cody Schrader from out of Missouri, 321 yards of all-purpose offense last week against Tennessee, set records, running for over 200, receiving for over 100. He was incredible. You won't get it. That's why it's called dark horse. But Cody Schrader deserves mention. He should be an all-SEC first-team back because he's been tremendous this year. Okay, 2 major all-star games in college football. Hopefully I can get to both. East-West Shrine Game is going to be in Dallas this year. Senior Bowl is going to be in Mobile, as it always is. So they were handing out invites this week. So let's get to the big 3 invites and start with the Senior Bowl and start with University of New Hampshire. Yes, UNH Weapon X, running back wide receiver Dylan Labe against Central Michigan this year. The running back had 295 yards receiving. He was unbelievable. He can absolutely fly. He is going to be fun to watch down at the Senior Bowl. FCS running back Dylan Labe. Let's get to West Virginia's center, Zach Frazier. Been the starting center at West Virginia for 4 years. He's West Virginia homegrown. He's a wrestler, and I love wrestlers. And you can see that in his game, his torque, his leverage. He's got all that. Zach Frazier gets an invite to the Senior Bowl. And finally, the guy who's number 1 in my Heisman is also getting an invite to the Senior Bowl. Nice little video this week where he was invited at Walk-Ons, which is one of the sponsors of the Senior Bowl. Jayden Daniels, LSU. Let's put on the film of our guy, Jayden Daniels, and showing you what he does well and why he's going to the Senior Bowl. It's a little bit later for Jayden on the first drive. 2nd and 1 down inside the red zone, or the gold zone, as Nathaniel Hackett calls it. Due to gold member, thank you, Nathaniel Hackett, for that one. One of the things about a quarterback, obviously, is his ability to find open receivers. And you hear this all the time. Well, you scan from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You scan the field. You make those progressions. And a lot of times, things are happening so fast, quarterbacks actually aren't even doing that. They're maybe looking at 1-2 reads. Jayden Daniels is going to show you exactly how it's done here. This is clinic work. Going to get motion to empty. Diggs is going to motion out to the right. So he's going to be an empty here, 2nd and 1. And Mississippi State's just going to play zone behind it. And he's going to look. You can see his eyes. He's looking over here. He's trying to work this triangle over here. But Mississippi State playing 4 over 3 over here. So it's going to be tough. So as he looks over at this right side, you can see him. No. He's going to cock his arm. No. Now he's going to look again. No. You can see the head start to turn. Look at him start to turn. Now he's looking here. Jet Johnson's mugged up on him. No. So then he comes back over here. Yes. Watch that head. No. 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 Yes. I love this decision-making from Jayden Daniels. I mean, this is just awesome. I mean, it's 2nd and 1. You just want to get that first down, and you're just running a little snag flat concept here. And he's just going to find that open zone right there. Watson gets too lazy, jumps out here where he's got some help, leaves this open. But I love Jayden Daniels going through that scan, and then there it is. Throw it. Zip it. First down. Goal to go. Well, outside the 10, so you can still go to first down. But, man, that is the absolute way that you are supposed to scan through your receivers, especially against zone coverage.
down where it gets tight. Excellent job here by Jaden Daniels, man. I really, really like this progression read and getting his guy the ball for a first down.
Lobby, Frazier, Daniels, all going to the Senior Bowl. So let's get to our big three, going to the East-West Shrine game, and start with a guy I've also mentioned, Louisville running back Jawar Jordan. Got a little bit of Shady McCoy in his game, shifty, dynamic, explosive, catches the ball to the backfield, speed to take it to the house. Now, he's not a big guy, about 5'8", 195-ish, but he plays a lot bigger than that. I think he is going to make a team very, very happy when he gets to the league. We're sticking with running backs because Kentucky running back Ray Davis also got an invite and accepted it to go to the East-West Shrine game. Built a little bigger than Jordan, but shifty, good vision, runs hard, and this guy's got one of the best stories ever. And I don't even really call it a story. His life path has been littered with adversity, and he's gone past it. Whether it was at Temple or Vandy or Kentucky or homeless in San Francisco, the man has shown he has got absolute character traits that you want in your NFL locker room. Ray Davis gets an invite to the East-West Shrine game. And finally, right here in the state of Texas, this guy's really interesting to me. Texas Tech defensive end Miles Cole, 6'6", 280, probably could play a little less, but it's got a ton of twitch. Now, he's a little different from Tyree Wilson. Tyree had length. He could reach the camera from here. But he wasn't, to me, as twitchy as Miles is. So Miles Cole, 6'6", 280, got some inside-outside versatility, gets an invite to the East-West Shrine game. So your three Senior Bowls, Dylan Labe from UNH, Zach Frazier from West Virginia, the center, and LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels, East-West Shrine game, Louisville running back Jawar Jordan, Kentucky running back Ray Davis, and Texas Tech defensive end Miles Cole. Which leads me to, finally, the big three draft matchups this weekend. Directly as close as I can get it to mano a mano. And it starts out in L.A., where UCLA defensive end Laete Latu, hope I said that right, Mr. Latu, facing USC quarterback Caleb Williams. We talked a lot about Caleb Williams this year. Latu is an unbelievable pass rusher. Now, he'll go against Jonah Monheim on one side, and Monheim's been okay. He's got an NFL future. But Latu has torn it up. But can he bring down Caleb Williams? That's a tough guy to bring down. It's a great opportunity for a spotlight game for both the Murphy brothers and Latu going against Caleb Williams. But we'll stick with number 15, Latu, against Caleb Williams. Second one, Texas taking on Iowa State, which means Iowa State cornerback TJ Tampa. Good size, excellent ball skills, length, going against two Texas wide receivers that I think have got top 75 written all over them. Wide receiver, Adnan Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. Those two, a little different. Mitchell a little bit bigger, still downfield threat. Worthy, 6'1", 165, and can fly. He's like Tank Dell, just a little bit taller. Those guys are deep downfield threats. So Tampa's going to be challenged with some downfield plays that he's going to have to make. Ball tracking down the field. Those two Texas receivers do it really well. We'll see if Tampa is able to stay in the hip pocket and make some plays. And finally, let's go with some big uglies here. Notre Dame's two tackles, who I think are top 50 guys. Joe Alt, left tackle, right tackle, Blake Fisher. They'll be facing underrated Wake Forest defensive end Jasheen Davis. 7.5 sacks this year, 15 TFLs, extremely explosive, great size, 6'3", 260. And he popped on tape this summer when I was watching Grant Barton from out of Duke. Barton was just eating up everybody from Wake Forest. 30 came in the game, went inside on him, like Barton was standing still. And really was the only guy that Barton had any issue with of guys I watched on film. Davis is all that. He is going to make for a tough matchup for both Alt and for Fisher. So great matchup. Even though Notre Dame's going to whitewash Wake Forest, I think. Great matchup out on the edge. Alt Fisher versus Jasheen Davis. All right, that's going to do it for the college football preview show. If you want to get all my picks, predictions, keys to the game, footballtakeover.com. Check out the rest. Get all those scores. But hopefully you like the show. We'll be back next week to break it all down for Week 13 after Thanksgiving. Yes, Thanksgiving weekend is all about, well, family, of course, and football, of course. And, well, you throw food in there. And if you look at me, you realize, well, yeah, I've eaten a lot of food. So looking forward to that. But big weekend this weekend. Hopefully you check it out. Hopefully you check out footballtakeover.com. Thanks for watching, everybody, and see you next time.